You better be ready. It's coming for you. The fire is
burning. Oh, yes, and it's coming for you. Yes, Survivor, Jeff, is over. Survivor.
You are excited tonight.
Winners at War. Yes, Tony has done it. We gotta play the anthem, man. We're okay. We got it here somewhere. Hold on.
No, don't worry, guys. Don't worry. It's designed to be like this.
What is
He's
this?
surely joking.
From the Wand Off. This is second week. Survivor.
All right.
Make a panic. Yeah, good job.
It's not in the way you regain Sarah's trust.
Sarah.
It's not in the way.
So come on, Tony did it, Jeff.
I'm very excited. I was very happy. I was very pleased. It was the best finale in Survivor history. I don't say that lightly. There's been 40 of them, but that was the best finale I've ever watched.
How is this guy still alive?
Come on, Tony. He did. How many votes did
Natalie got 4. So,
Natalie got 4?
So that means 13 went to Tony.
13 went to Tony.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. And none went to Michelle.
No, wait, sorry. 12. 12 went to Tony because Sandra was out.
Was it fair that none went to Michelle?
I thought Nick voted for Michelle. I was surprised when he said, "I know what it's like to be on the bottom." Like, why did he say that? Was he just like throwing us off? Like, did he know that they would like? He's like, "Oh no, I'll get into the show if I say this or something." Like, what the fuck? Like, that Nick bothers me.
Yeah, some of the final tribal council questions were a little bit questionable from my point of view. I thought it was a little bit strange at the end how they were kind of drawing out the suspense. I think once I saw where Rob and both Ben's votes were landed, I largely felt like I knew where this was going.
Let me ask you this. Let's just do a hypothetical. Say Sarah wins over Tony in the fire.
Yeah.
Does Natalie win easily?
No, I think it's actually Sarah who wins.
You think Sarah would have won?
I think Sarah would have won over Natalie. Yeah.
I think it would have been close. I don't know who would have won, but I do think the vote
I think it would have been close, maybe a little closer, but I think ultimately Sarah wins.
Maybe. Yeah. Okay.
If it's not Sarah, it's Michelle. I don't think Natalie wins. I respect what Natalie did tonight. Natalie was incredible. She comes back after being the first one voted out.
Yeah.
And ultimately, like, they didn't show this on the show. I don't know what arguments were made at these final tribal councils, what questions were asked. Like, there's a lot that they don't show us. But my argument would have been, okay, Natalie, you are incredible. You are a true survivor if there ever was one. But you got voted out the first chance you got. You came back. You had a hidden immunity idol. You also somehow got immunity again. Like, she kept getting immunity, right? She never was in a position where she could be truly voted out of the game.
That's right. Well,
right. She won her way out, and it comes down to what is the true definition of winning Survivor, Jeff? Is it the social game? Is it the all around game? Is it the fact that you can, you never lose a challenge? Because ultimately, like, what Natalie's only fault from a pure gameplay standpoint, a pure challenge standpoint, was that she never lost. Or she lost one challenge on the first day, right? Like, her Acele tribe lost it to call. She got voted off in a blind side. She didn't see it coming, right? And after that, she hustled her butt on Extinction Island forever. And she got challenges. She got tokens. She was dealing them to Jeremy. She was dealing them to whoever the hell she was for the whole game. She was active throughout the whole season. You're always like, what's Natalie up to? You were always wondering it. Because every time they went over to Edge of Extinction, they'd be like, hey, there's a clue. And Natalie is like, I'm CrossFit. I can go for days. She kicks Wendell's ass in like these like running challenges. It's incredible. I am so happy
I asked, hey guys, what is your energy level? Everybody said 0, 0, 2. They asked me what's mine. I said, about a 7, but I'm like a 15 right now, you know? So I should have dialed it down back to 2 because I don't want them to think that I'm real energized, but I just can't help it. I mean, they can see it.
Okay. All right. I just want to address one thing with this episode that I think wasn't being talked about the rest of the season, but all of a sudden in this episode, it was like there was this whole gender narrative going on in this episode. And
Yeah.
I felt like it was kind of like not appropriate to the way like the season was being played. Like I didn't really feel like there was any sort of misogyny going on. I didn't feel like everyone respected Tony because he was a man. Like I didn't understand where the girls were coming from on this, and there's whole girl power, and then the Natalie and Michelle were cheering Sarah on. I don't know. I just felt like it was a bad sport toward Tony. It was like a reason to get him out, because or like cheer against him because he was a man, and I just didn't understand this. Like, if you don't like him personally, fine, but like, why do you have? I just don't understand why they had to make it about a gender thing. What do you think about it? Like, when they kept coming up in this, it happened in multiple tribal councils. Never before in the season was it talked about, really. I didn't get it.
I think it was only a thing that really came into play once Natalie came into the game. Because I think that was the narrative. I think she knew that Tony had the jury basically like on his side, and her position was, I'm going to come in. I need to get Tony out by any means necessary. If I have to, if the narrative I have to spin is all us ladies need to stick together and get Tony out, if that's what helps me win, I'll do it. And I think that Natalie was selling that right up until the end, right? And I don't really think it played. And
well, yeah, I don't think the jury respected it. Most of the women didn't vote for a girl to win.
Yeah, I think that ultimately, like everyone's going to vote their conscience and who they think really deserves it.
Yeah, and that's what it should be. It shouldn't be about what gender or any of that stuff. Like, it shouldn't matter. Like, it should just. Like, I get that women have more of a disadvantage in certain ways. I do understand like what Jeff was talking about, that he even favored maybe men because he related to men more for many, many seasons, and he's realized that was wrong. That's all. I understand all that stuff. But where I don't understand is making it like the reason why Tony is winning or is doing better than everybody is because he's a man. I didn't agree with that. I think Tony was just playing the best. If Sarah had been playing the best and making all those risky moves that Tony made, I would be like, Sarah deserves to win. Not because she's a girl, because she deserves to win. Her personally. Like, I don't know. It was just bugging me throughout the episode. Like, it was like the Natalie, I agree, was trying to find a way to get Sarah to turn on Tony, which I do think that was effective. I think that using the gender thing was effective on Sarah. But at the same time, the votes proved me right that the jury did not respect that argument. It shouldn't be about that, Well,
like my main question is, does this sour Tony's win in some way because the narrative was potentially about these things or not?
Well, see, for me, no. But yeah, I'll bet you a lot of women watching this episode tonight felt that Natalie deserved to win. And I totally understand. Like, if you feel like she deserved to win, you have that right.
Deserved to win more than Natalie deserved.
I agree with you. I 100% agree that Michelle deserved to win more than Natalie did. She didn't play the game. She sat on edge of extinction and ran CrossFit the whole time, and then came back and then won immunity challenges and found 2 idols. No, she came back with an idol and found an idol. Now, kudos to her. Major kudos to her. She had to work her ass off. Hard work pays off, and I think she deserves credit. I do believe that she deserved to come in second, actually, and I'm glad she did, because that she deserved it. She earned her way into second place, and that's how I felt. Either way, I felt like she deserved second place. Like, if Sarah had gotten to the end, I feel like Sarah deserved to win, and then Natalie should have come second. That's how I feel about it, because she earned it. She went out and took it. Michelle was on the wrong side of the vote almost the whole time. She did play well. I'm not saying she didn't. She did something right to get herself to the end, and she was able to create relationship with people, but not good enough to get anybody's vote. So I don't know. Like to me, like Natalie was a solid second place to come back from the edge of extinction. But that's you like what they said tonight a bunch of times. You have to play perfectly, and you have to take out the biggest threat. That's what happened in the guy Chris Underwood when he won in Edge of Extinction. He came back. He knew he had to take out Rick Devens. If he did not take out Rick Devens, he was going to lose. And
So if Natalie had taken Tony out of the fire making challenge and had beaten him,
she wins.
she wins.
It's whoever was going to take Tony out in this season was going to win.
But she didn't decide to take it that far. She went with the halfway down, where she kind of went with this plan of, I'll pit Sarah against Tony. I will hope Sarah wins, and I hope that my argument of me coming back from extinction holds up against her plan of like, well, I was really really calling the shots the whole time with Tony. And if Tony is the last guy to hit the jury, he might be saying, no, that's not the case. And then there's all this doubt, and who knows who wins.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, had Sarah beaten Tony in the fire making, there would have been 3 girls in the final, and it would have been interesting to see how everybody looked at all 3 of their games. I do think Michelle actually probably would have got a vote in that instance. But it's hard to say who would have won. I mean, it would have been, I think, close between Sarah and Natalie. Sarah had a hard time for me in this game explaining why she deserved to win. And yes, she was very strategically involved with Tony, but Tony burned her in this season, and she never got him back. And she had to get him back. Like the only time she got him back tonight was when she voted out Ben. But Ben literally asked her to do it, and that was kind of that whole episode, that whole tribal part. I thought was kind of silly.
Well, I was like, what's going on with this? Like, I didn't really understand it. I didn't understand why Ben was throwing her. Like, Jane, who has been the biggest Ben fan this whole season because she drafted Ben the first time and he won, and she drafted him this time and he was looking good. And all of a sudden, he falls on his sword out of nowhere for Sarah, who ends up getting voted out anyway.
Yeah, and like, who did Sarah have a better relationship with, Ben or Tony? Can you answer that to me? Because I can't.
I thought it was Tony.
I thought it was Tony too. The show was portraying it the whole time as Tony, and then all of a sudden, this thing with Ben, she goes, "I trust Ben the most, 100%." Blah 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 blah. And then I was just like, "What?" And then like the whole episode, Sarah looked bad. Like the vote, but before that, where that Denise had to go home because of the technicality, they looked terrible. Tony was absolutely 100% right that they should have been splitting the vote. There was no reason not to split the vote unless there was 2 idols being played, and basically they just had to make sure that Michelle didn't have an idol. And as long as they had that, but Michelle won. No, wait, sorry, Michelle won the immunity in that chat that one, right? So
so it was a moot point at that point.
It was a moot point. They had to put Tony was right. They had to put the votes on Denise, and if they did that, then they would have had what 2 idols still left in the game to go into the next time, and then Ben would have been safe for sure, even if Natalie had found that idol. Now I don't know what happens. Just because one idol gets played, do they automatically put another idol back into the game?
At least one.
Yeah,
There were 3 idols played at that one particular immunity.
But what if only
Natalie?
Okay, but what if it was only Natalie's idol, which came from Edge of Extinction? Do they still put one out? Like, I don't know what the rules are. Like, I mean, I don't think they know. I think it's always a guess, but
I think it has to be somewhat proportionate to the number of players who are still in the game.
But there would have been still 2 idols left. Had the vote went right there, and
at the final 6, we had 3 immunity idols played,
only because they didn't split the vote. Okay, if they had split the vote and put it on 2 on Denise, 2 on Natalie, or whatever the split vote would have been, right?
Right.
If they had did that, Ben and Tony would not have had to play their idols. Okay. And then they would have still had their idols for the final 5. And then there's still, so you're telling me they'll put another idol out. So then literally there could have been 4 people with protection and then just 1 person. Like, it's ridiculous, so like, I don't think they would have put another idol out. had that happened. So like I feel like Tony really deserved to win this game. He was ahead of everybody's strategy. He did a really good job sussing out every vote. He never got his name written down once. I mean, that's impressive. A very impressive game by him. Whether or not you like him or not, a lot of people I understand don't like him personally as far as the way he plays, his morals, because he kind of does cross lines sometimes. He'll swear on his
What kind of
family.
lines?
He'll swear on his family, his dead grandmother. He did that more in Cagayan than
Is
he
that
did.
a line?
For some people, it is. Like if you listen to the Shane podcast that Rob Cesternino did, he thinks that's the biggest line you could ever cross. Is swearing on your family or your dead relatives or whatever. And you know, you could like Shane's like, I could never trust a guy like that ever because he has no morals, you know, which I don't believe. I don't believe that that's true. I think
Everybody comes from a different background, and you can't really judge what sort of morals that relate to what family members you have, or in swearing, especially on deceased people's memories. Like, what does it really mean?
that's where I come from on that one too. Is like I just don't think they should ever even allow people to do that. You shouldn't have to swear on anything. You know, like that's
You
not,
shouldn't have to. You should never be forced to. If you choose to, I think it's just as legitimately as as gameplay as anything else. Like for the most part.
okay. Yeah, I mean that's a fair point. Yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of takes. A lot happened in this episode. I mean, we could go through everything here, but like, what did you think? The thing that pissed me off right off the bat was the Edge of Extinction challenge. The Edge of Extinction challenge was bullshit. Natalie, why? Natalie didn't have to do the challenge. Okay, Dave. Like she basically got to she got stuck up on a rope, but she basically got to walk right to the 2-ball puzzle. And it was ridiculously bullshit. Like I understand that she make the puzzle harder. Then that if you give her those advantages, that's fine. But make that puzzle harder. That was not very hard of a puzzle to figure out. Or the little roll ball, put it in the whole thing. They should have did was the puzzle that they did with the 3-tier thing that Michelle dominated.
Yeah,
that should have been the puzzle that they did at the end of the Edge of Extinction challenge. Then that would have been a lot more fair if Natalie had to do that and figure that out, at the end of all, because I just don't agree that she should have been able to skip everything. Like she basically just had to run through like a rope maze and that was it. She got to skip the digging. She got to skip what was the next thing she got to skip 3 things. It was ridiculous.
Well, she earned that, right? From all her time on the Edge of Extinction.
That's fine, but don't make the puzzle so easy at the end.
Right. Yeah, like there was a lot of they make a lot of this about puzzles, really, right?
I don't know. That was just it pissed me off right at the I think she deserved to come back. She earned it. But make that challenge a little bit harder if you're giving her all those advantages.
Yeah, I guess so. Like, I'm with you on with what you're saying, but at the same time, what are you supposed to do? Not try to come back and win?
I'm not mad at her. I'm not mad at Natalie at all. It's not her fault. I'm mad at the production.
Yeah, like why is this the format of the game?
I'm not. Yeah, it's not even I don't mind the Edge of Extinction. I don't mind someone coming back. I don't care about that. What I care about is giving her 3 advantages, and whereas everybody else has to bust her ass just to get to this roll ball thing, and it's she earned the right to have an advantage, but that was too much of an advantage.
Yeah, I guess so. Her lot in this game, like the fact that she's part of the final 3 and she's the first one voted out, and yet this is an all-winner season, and that's what kind of makes this interesting. And like the fact that she's the one comes back into the game tonight is all that more interesting, and her role in this whole thing. Like I'm quite satisfied with how this thing turned out, honestly. Like I think it was a great 40th season. I think it was the perfect way to see how an all-winner season would play out. And here it is, Tony of all people, And Jeff, like I called up our, I'd say our, our somebody I look up to a great deal, Rob Cisternino. I'd say, and I spoke to him today, and I said, hey, I think a lot of people could win, but like, what about Tony or whatever, right?
Is that all you said? What about him?
Fuck.
What did you say? What did you ask Rob about Tony?
What did I ask Rob about Tony? I forget.
Oh, I think that's clear. Well, here's what I would have asked him. I would have said, like, okay, do you think there's like this kind of bias against Tony in any way? Like, do people like Tony? Like personally, it kind of came up tonight in the tribal council when Tony kind of shut Natalie down. It's like, if you say that I didn't care with these emotional relationships that I had with everybody, don't say that. Like, that's not true. And that's where Natalie was going. Like, he was right to shut her down there. Like, because that's exactly what she was doing. Like, she was going to go down this path that Tony was using all of you and abusing you.
And Tony was somehow fake.
Yes, correct.
I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with it either. And obviously the votes of the final jury did not agree either, as well. But
So
I do think I think certain people think that. I do think there are people. I think Jeremy thought that. I think he was voting for Natalie either way. But I do think that he had a thing with Tony that he thought that Tony was disingenuous. What do you think?
Well, I want to know, how did these final votes land, right? Like, who voted for Natalie, and then in the end, who voted for Tony in the end?
Natalie got Parvati's vote. She got Jeremy's vote. She got who else did she get? She got two other people.
The final vote. So Natalie got the votes of Jeremy, Tyson, Parvati, and Ethan.
And Ethan. That was a weird one. Ethan. That's a weird one. I just find that strange. Like, I don't get why Ethan. It's funny. Like, I do think Natalie did herself a disservice too on the edge of extinction, which I do think that I say Deb Johnson saying that Natalie was a beast and she should have won. See, I do feel a lot of people are going to feel this way tonight, that Natalie deserved to win. I
don't think we can ignore this vote is a 12-4 vote, right? Like,
it's a 12-4 vote. Who is it? Tyson, and then who was the last one you said that voted?
Natalie got Jeremy, Tyson, Parvati, and Ethan.
Ethan, right. So, okay. I do think that Boston Rob made a good point to Natalie at Final Tribal when he said to her, you went into this like beast mode where you put your head down and you didn't tell us anything, and you were just kind of like on your own, and you weren't she was too focused on getting back in the game rather than like making bonds with all the people that were on the jury. She knew were going to be on the jury. Now, I understand that she had to figure out a way to get back in the game, but actually I think that was her detriment.
Well, she doubled down on this whole plan of like, I'll come back in, I will win every challenge, I will just I'll win out, and they'll have to say she's the ultimate survivor, and Tony doesn't deserve to win because I'll try to sell this false narrative that Tony's somehow a fake and somehow was disingenuous in his or not earnest in how he was connecting with the other players. And Tony's like, hell not, like I will not stand for that, right? And so Tony stood up and he kind of said, no, I am genuine, this is who I am. Debbie Johnston, she's also saying here, her mistake was that she should have taken Tony with her to the end, and the girls should have been fire makers.
See, I disagree with that. I don't think that would have been even worse to the jury if she had done that. What I think she should have done was make Michelle make fire against Tony, because I think Michelle was better at the fire than Sarah was. And I think Michelle would have had a much better chance to get ahead. That fire thing is that was very exciting tonight. That whole fire challenge, I was on the edge of my seat. It was the best part of the episode. But whoever gets that fire going first usually gets it. But that is not what happened this time. It was kind of like, I think Tony got it going first, but then like it took a while. Like Sarah went for broke and then threw all of her husk on the fire too fast, and that's why she ended up not getting it. But
like, how did you feel overall about this whole episode, Jeff? Like as like a finale, as like something like was it like a roller coaster that you wanted? Like, was it satisfying? Was it entertaining?
For me, it was the best finale I think Survivor's ever done. I don't think it's close. It was exciting. It was a very exciting. The only thing I really did not like, was the Edge of Extinction challenge. I thought it was not exciting. It was not as good as it could have been. They should have really. I would have taken an endurance challenge. I would have taken something different. I just didn't like that challenge. Other than that, everything after that challenge was fantastic. I also thought when Jeff Probst said, when they're playing that ball challenge and they're they're going back and forth, and Natalie kept saving herself, and that was very exciting. But I also thought that when he said that, I remember because Jeremy won that exact challenge in Second Chances, and I don't know who the other two people that won the challenge, but he said all three people that have won this challenge to get
have
to
won the game.
Have won the game. So I thought he was foreshadowing that Natalie won the game.
Well, it's almost like, but he's almost going against history, because ultimately that's not what happens, right?
That's not what happens. Yeah, I was surprised. I thought it was for sure, because I once I saw Tony go out, I was like, well, okay, Tony lost the fire. Like, I thought Tony lost the fire making challenge, and then Natalie won the game. That was what I thought right in that moment. So when Tony came back in the fire making challenge and won that challenge, I was so shocked. I could not believe it. I was like, whoa, like I've never seen anybody ever come back in the fire making challenge. Usually somebody gets it and then like you're done. And that's not what happened. Like it was so exciting. It was for me my favorite finale I've watched. The only one that comes close for me is 19 is Samoa. That's the only other finale that I can remember that was this exciting, that Russell Hantz had to single-handedly beat that Brett kid.
Right.
And he did it with that. Remember, he was holding that thing with the statue, and it was like literally like 14 feet high. And he
Russell
beat
Hantz did?
Yeah, Russell Hantz did. He was holding like that, like the stick, and it was got the statue like 14 feet above him, and he beat Brett, the guy who was winning every immunity challenge over and over.
But he didn't win the game in the end.
No, but I do feel like he deserved to win that game. I mean, I mean that's another argument for another day, but I feel like he earned that one, just like Natalie kind of earned she earned second place for me tonight. She had to take out Tony. Boston Rob was right. She had to take out Tony. She did not take out Tony, so she kind of like, it's hard argument for her to say, hey, this guy who didn't get his name written down once, this guy that won 4 immunity challenge, he was always on the right side of the vote except for once, which was when Ben basically asked to be voted out. It should not have happened. That was the only time. Like, I mean, hats off to Tony. I mean, give him credit. That credit is due. He played a fantastic game. He did exactly what he needed to do. I mean, this is a guy who came in with a huge threat level. When he played Game Changers, he was such a threat, and they took him out early. And everybody expected the same thing to happen to Tony this season, but he learned his lesson. And
Tony was a dream. Like, he won when he needed to win. He played a great game, like a beautiful game. It was loyal. It made me, it teared me up at points. Deb Johnson, Jeff wants you to know that she doesn't think that it made a difference as the jury wasn't there to witness the challenge.
Oh, I don't think it was I wasn't making that comment about the jury. I was more talking about like as the editing and the way the audience the story's being told to the audience. I felt that Jeff was foreshadowing to us in the editing that Natalie won.
Yeah,
that's how I felt.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I think that I was on the edge of my seat the whole night. Like, this was a really fun night in terms of how a Survivor finale should go. It was like our chat was kind of wild. You kind of broke protocol, Jeff, tonight a little bit.
What do you mean?
in our group chat.
What was the protocol?
Like Amanda used to say, you have to give me at least 24 hours before you can discuss this episode.
Hey, you don't have to come into the chat. I mean, or just stop, turn off your notifications.
I'm just saying, like, Amanda,
You know why Amanda says that is because Amanda watches it like 20 minutes after it airs because she doesn't want to watch commercials.
Right. Okay. 20 minutes is different than 24 hours, but I get the basic
Amanda's still
principle.
watching the episode
Right now.
Yeah, she's watching the jury right now. Like,
Okay,
that's how
but
far behind she is.
you can mute the group chat too. So
Yeah, exactly. It's just muted. She hasn't looked at the chat, so that's
And like, hey, speaking of the group chat, congratulations in our pool to Sean Simons, who won tonight.
he picked Tony.
He picked Tony. All the final five, Jeff, were bottom half players. Even I don't know where Natalie was in the order of the draft, but
I think she went like first. Natalie, she went high, didn't she?
She went eighth overall.
Okay, she went in top 10. Okay, so here I have a question for you. All right, so Natalie secured Tyson's vote by giving him the idol before coming back from Edge, right? So that was kind of why she got Tyson's vote. She was getting Jeremy's vote regardless. Like they're tight. They're like best buds. Okay, so that both those votes made sense.
Mhm.
Parvati's vote I thought was interesting, and Ethan's vote. Let's break down their two votes. Why do you think that they voted for Natalie?
Well, I understood Parvati, and I don't know. I look on Ethan's vote as sort of an extension of almost Parvati's vote. Who knows? Like, it's hard to say who influences who and how these votes shake out. But I mostly felt like there was sort of like bonds made on edge of extinction. I think that the fact that Tony got the majority of the votes was, sort of expected, really, because I think especially after the original Edge of Extinction and how controversial was Chris Underwood. That's the winner from that season, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that season's largely controversial. So I think if Natalie was crowned the grand champion of all winners, I don't think that would necessarily be the ending of the story that they're looking for. And I think the fact that it was Tony was fine. Not to get too deep into the whole male female winner argument, but I'm mostly of the argument like whoever wins Survivor regardless of gender
Or race or age or any of those things.
yeah
Okay, there's lots of things that define who you are at any given time, even. But for me, like it drives me nuts sometimes when they do this in Survivor, when they make it personal about things that are intrinsic to who you are and you cannot change. It's like you can't change your gender. I guess you can, but that's a different argument. You can't change your race. You can't change your age. These things shouldn't matter for who deserves to win. Okay, like none of that's just my opinion. Like I do agree with what Sarah was saying though, that it is harder for women to make cutthroat moves and get credit for it. I agree with that, but I just think they need to do it more. Like just do it. It'll get respected, but you need to do it a lot more as women, and I get the perception that they're viewed as like bitchy, or they're and men get all this credit when they do the exact same thing. I don't agree with that perception shouldn't exist. Like I don't agree. Like if people who think that, I don't agree with that. Parvati was one of the best backstabbers going, and everybody loves her. Everybody loves her, the way she played the game. So like, I don't know. Maybe it's just style, finesse. I don't know, like, because I do think there's lots of guys that have done backstabbing and been looked down upon as some of the worst people to play the game. Like, for instance, Russell Hantz. Everybody hated his guts in Final 3 both times. So they didn't look at him. You're evil because you're a man. It was more just like they didn't like him, personally. So like, judge the person, not the intrinsic characteristics about them. That's just where I come down.
It's whatever you want to be, right? Like, you know, as a juror, your vote is your vote, however you want it to shake out, right? So I think whoever you are, if you're a smart player, if you actually think you're good at this game, you have an obligation to try to influence the vote of those jurors before they go off to the jury. Like you have that's an intrinsic duty you have as a strategic player.
I agree with you, yes. But where I draw the line for me is making the argument that it's because you're a woman you deserve to win, or a man you deserve to win, or whatever. Any of those things, I just don't agree. Talk about how you played the game.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like it doesn't. I'm sympathetic to the fact that it's been of the last I think it's 8 wins. I think it's it's 6 men and 2 women, right?
Yeah. No, it's not been good numbers. I agree.
But it is what it is, right? You can't help it. It's like sometimes the Detroit Red Wings win 3 or 4 Stanley Cups in a row. Sometimes sometimes that's just the way it happens. Like you can't help it.
Yeah, this happens in Big Brother a lot too. I mean, it'll be like a white man will win a lot or whatever, whatever it is. But I mean, that's who all those.
What are you gonna do about that?
Yeah, there's nothing you could do. It's not. Tony didn't win because he was a man. He won because he made bold moves and got away with it. And it was, that's what people respect in Survivor. They respect people making bold moves, controlling the votes, and getting to the end with that control. That's what wins in Survivor. Now, whether or not you do that with wherever you come from in life, if you're poor, if you're, there's so many different things. If you're rich, if you're, a lot of people might say tonight Tony won because he has a family. I mean, you saw in the final 3, Michelle was sitting there with her sister, and Natalie was there with her boyfriend. Okay. Tony has 2 little ones there sitting there with him. Like the jury knows this going into the votes. Yeah. They know, and $2 million is a lot of money. $2 million will help those kids. Now, Natalie and her boyfriend might have kids in the future. Michelle, I'm sure at some point will get married and have kids or whatever. Maybe she doesn't. I don't know. Just saying, I don't believe that's a reason to give Tony the vote. If you voted for Tony based off the fact that he has kids, I disagree with that. You shouldn't do that.
He's surely joking.
Yeah. What do you think on that? Do you think...
How is this guy still alive? Maybe he's not joking. Maybe he really believes that he is the structural engineer.
What did he say tonight? He owns buildings and he's happy he's gonna be financially secure. I'm like,
no. Tony was a pure dream to watch on this season. I didn't pick him in the draft. I picked Kim, and I didn't pick again until I ended up picking up, I guess, Ethan. But all that was foolish. We all thought that Tony was a lame duck. We all thought and ultimately we were kind of right about who we thought the lame ducks were in our draft, Jeff. We thought Rob and even Amber and these kind of players were sort of easy targets. We thought that Tony was a similar such character, but also Tony emerges as the ultimate winner of Winners at War. He's the king of kings. He won the Super Bowl of Survivor.
Absolutely, and he deserved it. He played a great game. He was there. He never got a vote. I mean, that's a great. That's a very similar reason to why Denise won her season. She went to every single tribal council and never got voted out. They're certain. He won the fire. He won 4 immunities. I mean, the obstacles. If you just compare the obstacles that all 3 of those players in the final 3 had to go through to get to the end, Tony had the most to do. He had the most maneuvering to do. Michelle just I love her, and she did very well in both her immunity challenges, and I was cheering for her. But at the same time, she never really knew what was going on. As far as she could have went home so many different times. Now she didn't, and it's kudos to her. She got to the end. But at the same time, I mean, she didn't control her fate. Tony controlled his fate. Natalie also controlled her fate. She
Yeah,
did very well. And that's
Ultimately,
why
I
she
feel
deserves
I feel
second place.
bad for how Michelle turned out in this whole season.
Yeah, me too.
I feel like she kind of got shortchanged a little bit here. Overall,
I agree.
I feel like she worked really hard all season. She was in the game all season. Like, here comes in Natalie from the edge, and yes, Natalie has this great story, but yes, also Michelle never. She stuck it out. She was in the game. She's an active player. She wasn't.
They asked her one question in that final jury.
And she didn't get the respect she deserved. I think it was really unfortunate that not even Wendell voted for her. And I guess you can make the argument, well, hey, he knew it was only coming down to either it being Tony or Natalie. So why throw a vote away on Michelle?
I think Nick deserved. Nick should have voted for her too.
Yeah, it was kind of rotten a little bit, I thought.
I expected, like, I was like, when they showed me Nick saying like, oh, I know what it's like to be on the bottom and kudos to you or whatever he said, I was like, oh, he voted for Michelle. And I remember I said, like, good for you. Like, that's what I said. And I was like, that's an admirable vote because she told you, Nick, you fucked up, bud. When you made that vote and you voted out Jeremy, you ruined your game. And she told you. She was absolutely 100% right. She was right a lot of the time in this season. She just never controlled her own fate. And the jury respects that. They want you to be able to control your own fate. If you're always, and she was always at the mercy of other players, either keeping her around because she was just kind of like this vote that would kind of go with them, or she voted against Wendell. I mean, she would flip flop and go back and forth. She just always was. She was never leading the discussion in her alliance. She was just kind of like always like involved, but never like the forefront. Never putting a plan together to take out Sarah or Tony that was really effective. So she just didn't have enough of a resistance against the main alliance. If she had done that and she had proven that she could do that, then I think she would have got a lot more respect. But she would have been a way bigger threat. She may not have got to the end if she had done that. The one player tonight that we're not talking about, and let's face it, like, who cares? But Denise, the way Denise went out tonight, like, I would, if that was the way I went out tonight, that would be rough. I was positive that Sarah was going home when that happened.
And the fact, Denise's exit in this game, it's oddly satisfying in some ways for me, Jeff, because I felt like she doesn't deserve to win. I'd rather she not be part of the end game. I'm quite satisfied that it was Michelle and not Denise in the final three. If there's going to be sort of this like goat who's not going to get any votes, right?
Yeah, I'm perfectly satisfied with that as well. But I'm more talking about what happened at that tribal when it came down to Sarah and Denise on the revote. I was shocked that it didn't. Like, Ben voted against Denise. Oh, I can't vote against Denise. This is personal. This is which is probably the reason he went down on the sword the next vote.
Well, it was shocking. You're quite right.
Why did he do that? I don't understand why he didn't vote Sarah out.
It didn't really make any sense because Sarah was the bigger threat at that point. So you should vote Sarah out. But the vote for Denise out, I don't know. At that point, it just seemed like they were locked in with this idea of Ben, Sarah, and Tony. They were somehow locked in with each other, and they were unshakable.
But Sarah wasn't voting. Okay, Tony was voting. He was always going to vote for Denise. And then who were the other people that could have voted in that vote? It was Natalie, Michelle, and I missed someone, and Ben. So right. Natalie, Michelle, and Ben could have decided to vote out Sarah, or even Natalie, Michelle. I was expecting a 2-2 vote again, and then it was going to go down to fire. Because Jeff said it too, and I was expecting that to happen. It to be 2 on Sarah and 2 on Denise, and then they were going to have to do fire. And that's why, like, the whole episode. That's why he said he couldn't do the reunion show after, like, because there's so much time. I expected that to happen. I was like, oh, it's going to fire. Didn't happen. They they all voted for Denise. Every one of them, even Natalie and Michelle. Why?
There's no answer.
There's no answer. I mean, you got to give me something. Come on.
What? Tony's energized. Listen.
The more tired they get, the more energized I get. The more tired they get, the more energized I get.
You just love that second. Ooh.
I love it. It's gold. It's gold. And the fact that Tony won this episode and this whole season and the whole thing is so fulfilling, Jeff. I am so happy with how this night turned out.
I'm happy too. I'm very happy for Tony. I thought we're breaking down this episode. There were things that frustrated me in the episode because I didn't understand the motivations. I felt that this whole season. I've not understood some people's votes. And I don't think we will until after the season and like people like Sassanino do interviews with some of these people and go like, well, hey, Ben, why did you vote with Denise when you kept saying, I can't vote
until we get that explanation for that. Yeah, you're right about that. I think largely we're not going to understand exactly how this played out because that's the flaw of the Edge of Extinction format is that we get a lot less strategy. We get a lot more of these like people who've been voted out of the game. We see them sort of struggling in these different scenarios, and that eats up a lot of the airtime in this format. And it's the big flaw of it. And so we don't really understand why certain alliances went certain ways. And that's sort of the unfortunate part of watching something like this.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. Amanda just texted me. She goes, oh my God, so happy Tony deserved it.
Tony never laughed and he never walked away. It's kind of like, playing a game with a kid where you just imagine it's all make-believe and then you realize at some point that for them it's not make-believe.
It's all make-believe. I'm very happy. I'm like you, Dave. I'm very at peace with the season. I feel like the person that deserved to win won. I feel like if Sarah or Tony won the season, that was the right person to win. Either one of those people. That's why that final fire making challenge was, to me, the whole season was that challenge. It was fair. It was so exciting. I mean, that whole moment.
Okay, you want to know the truth?
You skipped it?
Do you want to know my shame?
You skipped the fire making?
I didn't skip it.
You skipped right to the end.
No, I covered my eyes. I just listened. And it's a whole okay. Go back and redo this with just listening. It's a very different experience. I just have to tell you.
That's a very visual thing to watch because, like, a lot of
I couldn't handle it. I wanted Tony to win so bad. Yet I also there's a part of me that's rooting for Sarah. Also, I really really like Sarah.
Were you rooting against Natalie?
I was at this point. I was actively rooting against Natalie, but only at this point.
I felt, me too. I felt the same way when Michelle won the first immunity challenge. I was so happy that she won it. I was very happy for her, mainly because she beat Natalie and she was going to get her idol flushed. But it didn't matter. She found the next idol anyway, so I was mad when she found that idol. But that was on Tony. He stayed up all night. He couldn't find it, so that was on him. Probably, because he was tired. He probably should have went to bed, and then, but he's crazy, But that whole moment, like Ben is also supposed to be the guy that stayed up all night and found idols. He did it 3 times in his season, and he didn't do that.
Ben was really disappointing here in the end. I don't think Ben had a great finale here.
He had no drive. The man was the defeated man because all he could think about was all the backstabbing that he did. And not even maybe in this season, but the season that he won, which I find strange because he didn't do that much backstabbing in that season. Like he had
a little bit of PTSD Survivor style.
He did. And what's funny is like Tony talked about it a little bit in the Final Trouble, but like he didn't talk a lot about Cagayan. And Cagayan, he got a lot of like fire from the other contestants in that season. I mean, Trish let him have it in that season, and so did multiple other players, including Sarah. but everybody voted for Tony that season except Taj. She was only Tosh. She was the only one who did not, and she only did because she was kind of like bitter. Then she wanted to give Wu a vote. And Tony held that against her. He was like, I can't believe I didn't get a unanimous win. But anyway,
will Tony hold this against these people?
no, I don't think he gives a shit. You win, you get 12 votes. That's probably
good.
That's way more votes than he got in Kagayan. I mean, there's a way bigger jury, but he beat Natalie 3 times over. That's how many times he beat her over. So I mean, Sandra also is the one player. I mean, that wasn't there. I kind of disappointed in her. You know, yeah, the fact they even they had that whole clip of everybody talking about their experiences on Survivor and everything, and that's great. But I was like, kind of like with Sandra, I was like, what are you doing? Like, why did you leave? Like, like Boston Rob made a good point. He's like, I wanted my kids to see that you never give up. And I think that was a little jab at Sandra. I think that was a little like,
yeah, I think you're probably right about that. Like, I don't think you're wrong. I think that it is disappointing that, ultimately what Sandra would have spent 2 weeks on a beach with a bunch of fellow Survivor players being hungry, right? It's also what she was asked to do.
Yeah.
And she said no.
Yeah, and she's supposed to be the queen of Survivor. I mean, you're supposed to be the representative of the show.
Like, you can look at it a few ways. Like, she walked away and said, I'm not going to win that challenge, especially when someone like Natalie has that crazy advantage coming into it tonight, right? Like, even if that wasn't in the place.
Yeah, but just because you're not going to win doesn't mean you shouldn't be there and try. Do you think Danny Boatwright thought she was coming back? Sure, she had a chance, but come on, but
she didn't.
Come on, she wasn't coming. Amber, she knew she wasn't coming back in the game. She was happy for she said it. She was there for her husband, and I get it. I understand. I agree.
I think Amber gets shortchanged a lot. I think Amber did well on her win, in her season.
Yeah, I agree. I do think in that season that Boston Rob deserved to win that game. But I don't think Amber was nobody. I don't think she was I think it was a 60-40 thing. I think she had a lot to do with the strategy of that season, and she deserved a lot of kudos. I personally feel like Boston Rob did more to make sure those two got to the end together. That's my 2 cents on it, but at the same time, who cares? That's who the jury voted for. They deserve.
Yeah, that's how it shook out. That's Survivor. That every time you play a reality game show, you are in this season with whatever contestants you're in it with, and whatever their personalities are, whatever their little quirks are, and their little whatever buttons you can push. That's who you're with.
Well, Boston Rob pissed people off because he did something that Shane was talking to Rob Cesternino about, again, very much to the same idea as Tony, is he swore to, Lex, if you save her, I'll save you, right?
And then he voted him out the next episode.
And he voted him out once they merged. And the whole thing was, did he do a dirty thing there? Give me your opinion. Was that dirty?
You better be ready.
Yes, I think so.
Every time I ask you a question, you just play a sound bite.
It's coming for you.
That's right.
Shane was saying he thought that was the dirtiest thing, most scumbaggy thing he's ever seen in Survivor.
I loved it. I loved every second of it. But on the other hand, it was Rob who got his hands dirty in that whole exchange. And Amber didn't. Amber survived. She had a strong ally in Rob. Rob got her to the end. She wins. That's Survivor. That's how the game played out. It is exactly what it is. That's why it's a perfect game. It's
but Rob took the bullets so Amber could win. Basically.
If that's how they want to think about it, sure. Whatever. Amber won.
That's how I think about it. He took the bullets. He made sure that he was made sure to keep her in the game. Okay, by doing that, because she was probably going to get voted out. But he used his friendship with Lex to keep Amber in the game. That's why he lost the game. Was because Lex, like if you go back and watch that final jury, he let him have it, and that was the most controversial reunion ever in Survivor. Was that reunion? There were Jerry walked out. There were people like they hated Rob. You know, like for a lot of people did for what he did.
Well, then everyone fair and square.
Well, that's fine, but like a lot of people think he was being ridiculous, like that Lex was being ridiculous. So it's all about perception is everything, just like they were saying tonight in Survivor. It's all about perception. That Amber kind of won because Rob, had all the blood on his hands, and I personally think that you should reward the person with all the blood on their hands rather than the person that was taken to the end.
Right.
I don't agree. You know, like that's the same. I agree with the same thing with Russell Hance's season. I don't think Natalie or the Nick guy deserved to win. They were brought there by Russell. You know, but they didn't like Russell personally. They thought he went over the line, and that's fine. And you're right. That's the game of Survivor. If you go over the line, they have the right not to vote for you, and then you have the right not to win.
If you can't get them to vote for you at the end, the whole thing is pointless.
That's true. That is very true. That's what Tony was able to figure out how to do, even though he was also crossing those lines. You know,
but just barely. He was scratching them.
In Cagayan, he crossed lines. Okay, he was swearing on his dead grandmother. He was doing things in that season. He promised Trish he would bring her to the end, and he cut her right at the 4. You know, there was a whole bunch of things that he did. He kept flip flopping and lying to people, and blatantly lying to people. A lot of people don't respect that, but he still got their vote. Because why? I don't know why Tony gets a vote, but a Russell doesn't, or Boston Rob doesn't. I don't understand why in those.
Because it's not the same people voting each time either.
That's true.
It's those people in that experience. They're going through that, and they're going to pick which winner they feel fits their story and their season, and who they feel like, well, yeah, I voted for him in the end because of whatever, and it better sound half good, right? It's not just about well, he played the best game, and I guess I had to, and whatever. Yep. No, that's what it is. Every time it's a new experiment. You have either 16 or 14 or 20 players, and you throw them together and you say, go. You're living on a beach together. You're living in a house together. You're doing this. And at the end, there's only one of you.
Right. I think it comes really down just to personalities. And as a viewer, we're only shown a certain amount of tape. Okay. If we had seen certain things that maybe Russell did in 19 or 20, and that we didn't get to see on tape, but he did, without we're over the line, we would probably feel different as an audience. So when these players come off the game, okay, and they go, "Oh, people told me I didn't deserve to win," or whatever, we don't get the full picture, you know. So it's hard for even for me to go and say, "Oh, I think Russell Hantz deserved to win that season," because I don't know if he went and crossed a line that was way over the top, or was way, like maybe he did. And he probably did. If you listen to some of his YouTube stuff, he talks about how much an alcoholic he was at the time, and that he was. He even admits that he was not in a good place. So I do think that, like, as an audience, we can get it misconstrued sometimes what actually happened on the island. Okay,
right.
And that's why I was happy that Tony shut Natalie down tonight when she was going to go down that road. That same Russell Hantz, Boston Rob road, that he doesn't deserve it because he doesn't actually care about you. Right. He was using you to get to the end, and all he cares about is the money. And so I think there's so much to talk about with motivations here. But I feel like, just from watching the show, that Tony seems like a pretty genuine person.
Seems to be.
And I don't know. I didn't live on the island with him, but I could just tell the way other people react or reacting to him when like even Boston Rob says it to him tonight, that you kept getting all these people voted out, and then everybody came to the edge of extinction and said, "Hey, I want to vote for that guy to win." Yeah. So
hey guys, what is your energy level? Everybody said 0, 0, 2. He asked me what's mine. I said about a 7, but I'm like a 15 right now. So I should have dialed it down back to 2. Because I don't want them to think that I'm real energized, but I just can't help it. I mean, they can see it.
Tony's crazy. Like he said, He's like, he asks everybody's energy level. They go, oh, I'm at 1, I'm at 2. He goes, I'm at a 15. That's out of 10, by the way.
And he has like no caffeine or anything like that. So he's
No, that's
him.
just him on the island living off of coconuts and fish and rice and whatever the hell they have.
I think that's why he won both times that he won, because he's so crazy, but he's so likable. And I think everybody generally likes him, even if they don't like him lying or blindsiding people. They get over that because they like him as a person.
Whereas this guy is a special person, right?
Yeah, and whereas I find if you go like a Russell, or even when Boston Rob did it, and even both times Boston Rob got to the end, he had people pissed off at him, because he plays a way that is dismissive. He dismisses players and then he cuts them. That's how he plays. He gets the buddy system. He goes, yo with me.
And then very similar to Boston Rob.
No, who? Tony? No, I don't feel like Tony does. I feel like Boston Rob doesn't manage his jury very well. He had to bring, when Boston Rob won his game, he had to bring Philip, a crazy person, and a girl who did nothing the whole season to the end in order to win. And he knew he had to do that. He had to be given like 4 clues to get an immunity idol. Like Boston Rob is like, he's a great TV character and I love watching him, but he is not a good Survivor TV player.
He's like good. He was handed his win.
I wouldn't say he earned it, but he had to do certain things in his game to make sure he won at the end. He had to make sure that he didn't bring likable people to the end. And that wasn't the case with both times Tony was sat at the end. He sat with very likable people. He sat with Natalie, Wu, and Michelle. Those are the players he sat. They're all likable. They're all really good people. Ross and Rob sat with his wife one time, lost, and then he sat with Philip, and I think her name was Natalie as well. You're right though, Dave. Like you have to get to the end, and you're with a cast, and you have to use that cast to your advantage. And
it reminds me. Okay, Jeff, it's just like curling, right? Think of it like this. It's curling, it's baseball, it's sports in a lot of ways where you're thrown in any given situation. And yes, you as an individual player have such amount of influence, but ultimately you have to sort of work with the people you're working with, and you have to find the best solution. It's problem solving.
Yeah, that's right. Like there's multiple possibilities and calculations that you need to make, like just like in curling. There's so many different angles.
There's not just one right answer either.
No, but I think it depends on your personality in Survivor. You personally have to win a certain way. I think Tony can win, like, a lot of the times if he gets to the end. I think Boston Rob has to sit at the end with certain people. I think Russell Hantz would have been way better suited to have like a final 2, but he doesn't have that option. Like there's certain players I think have to have certain things align their way to win.
I think if you're like a player and you're meeting strangers and you're playing with these strangers for the first time, yes, be true to who you are for the most part, but you have the ability to sort of like put little variations in your personality, because yes, you are dealing with strangers. They don't know you, and they're not able to call you on things from your past. You can truly be whoever you want to be in those kinds of situations, whether it's like a Big Brother situation or any kind of reality TV show or Survivor, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I feel like Ben had zero chance to win this game. Not because I don't think he's a likable guy. I think a lot of people liked him just fine. I just think he didn't. Like, I think certain things need to go your way in Survivor, and they talk about it in the final jury where they go this outwit, outplay, outlast, all this kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So first of all, Natalie had no outwit. She didn't outwit a single person in the game.
No.
So she
did do on a couple of the races. She outwitted Wendell last week, figuring out where that throne thing was.
Yeah, I mean that's to me like more of an outplay. She out hustled him, but yeah, she'd been there longer, so she knew kind of where to go when she got. It was fortunate for her. Still, you know, but I wouldn't say that's outwitting. She just knew where to go. Wendell made a mistake. But anyway, like so that was outplay. She probably outplayed everybody as far as the challenges goes, and all the advantages that she threw into the game. She deserved that kudos. The outlast thing, I think Tony and her both had arguments for that. For sure. For me, Tony gets the trump card. He never got his name written down. He never got voted out of the game. So for me, he should win that outlast argument. That's just me. But she also has an argument. I mean, she played the rules. Like you said, Dave, I mean, Survivor throws in an edge of extinction. If you come back, it's not her fault. But as an audience, I think if Natalie had won tonight, I think it would have been a very divided reaction.
Mhm.
Okay. I think a lot of people would have been upset that Tony did not win. Whereas I feel like when Tony won tonight, a lot of people are going to be like Deb was tonight, where she feels like Natalie deserved to win. But I think the majority of people are going to be pretty okay with it, or happy like you are tonight, where that Tony won.
I try to stay pretty neutral as much as I can. Of course, I have my favorites, but like if it wasn't going to be Tony and it was going to be, I wouldn't have minded it being Natalie. It just depends on who she's up against, and if she's up against Denise and Michelle, for instance, then perhaps not. Like maybe I think Natalie should win outright.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, those 4 people that voted for Natalie, that was their winner. That was that's who they wanted to represent their season. And that's and are they wrong? No, I mean they're not wrong. But majority rules, democracy rules. That's how it works. You're right. That is how Survivor works. As an audience, Deb has the right, though, to say she felt Natalie was a beast and deserved to win. And she's not wrong. She's allowed to have her opinion and believe that, because 4 other people agree with her on that, So, like, this whole argument, like, and this came up a lot in this season where Michelle's like, oh, people didn't respect my win. Ben said it too. If I won $1 million, I'd be like, fuck what anybody thinks, that'd be my opinion. I wouldn't give a shit. I understand. It's easy for me to say that. I don't have people coming up like me, or for instance, saying you didn't deserve to win that season. But I would just retort with, well, I mean, like you said, they voted for me. Those people that were on the jury felt that I did.
I played with those particular people.
Yeah.
What else could I do? That was what I was asked to do.
Now, if the whole jury was filled with me, in whatever season, that the person I thought deserved to win would have won. That's kind of like the beauty of the final part of the game, is that it's a very democratized game. It's the majority rules, and it's not about necessarily who deserved it. Even though I can have my opinion of who I feel deserved it. But doesn't mean I'm right or wrong, or my opinion is absolute. That's the problem I think people run into, is that people have this idea that
that's a problem I run into too. But I think I'm quite correct. I think my opinion is absolute, and you should definitely subscribe to it. Jeff, I think we need to wrap up tonight. We have a fulfilling victory in Tony. I think we're going to go out with some Tony Bamboo music from the second week of the what's it called?
What?
You know what I'm talking about.
What are you asking?
The Wandoff.
What about it?
We're gonna play that song.
Thinking on projects is fun. Let me just build the ladder. Projects is fun. Let me just build the ladder.
You know that one? No?
I don't remember, because I don't listen to the Wandoff. I used to. I kind of stopped.
Remember when Tony built that ladder in the second week? Isn't that like a great metaphor for the whole season?
Yeah, it's probably why they showed it. Yeah, for sure.
No, don't worry, guys. Don't worry. It's designed to be like this.
I mean,
He's like,
it
yeah,
probably-
he had a plan.
they probably gave him the idea for that spy nest, and that really helped him in this season for sure.
Tony's so amped up all the time. He's running around camp, and never in Survivor did I ever think I was going to play with anybody crazier than myself, let alone Mr. Tony freaking Vacha.
Yeah, I mean, see, like the joy in his voice. He likes the guy, you know.
Everyone likes him.
Everyone likes him. That's why he won.
Yeah, tonight when I saw that in the jury, when everyone was like, "Yay, Tony, you made us laugh," I was like, "Tony's won."
Yeah.
It's
Oh
over.
yeah. Oh yeah. He made them laugh like 3 times, and when I saw that happening, I was like, he won. I was pretty sure. I thought Allie was going to get more votes than 4. I thought she was going to get about 6. I thought it was going to be more like what would that have been then? 10-6. Yeah, 10-6. That's what I thought it was going to be. I was surprised she didn't get more of the girls' votes.
Yeah.
I'm surprised like Sophie, certain people like Kim. I thought there would be more girl power votes going toward Natalie. But it didn't happen. And I'm happy about that because that's not why you should vote for somebody to win. You shouldn't vote for them on their gender or any of those things. Like vote for the person that you feel deserved to win. And they all did. They clearly did.
Sure. No, I agree with you. Okay, Jeff. Well, that's the end of Survivor, the season 40. That's our end of our podcast. The end of this journey. We might not get a new season of Survivor for a while here on Super Mater Brothers Podcasting.
Yeah, I mean, he said they're going to try and get one up by the fall, but we'll see.
If not, we're going to, who knows what we'll do. Throw some requests in. Subscribe, like our posts, and you can follow us Facebook, YouTube. There's audio feeds, whatever you need is out there. Check out our Star Trek coverage over on Live Long and Podcast. That's the other channel we have with a lot of Star Trek content, including Saturday movie reviews. We'll be doing Star Trek Generations this Saturday. And yeah, here we go. All right. We need the song, Jeff, to send us off.
Taking on projects is fun. Let me just build the ladder.
A project just starts. It appears like a fine work of art.
We'll see you next season.
Bye.
My mind in a haze, so I won't get crazy.
I'm gonna start doing crazy things.
Oh, so let's take a walk.